If you've been following my work for a while, you'll know I spend a lot of time speaking to scientists, doctors, and other experts, as well as inspirational people, and trying things out for myself. And what's become very clear to me is this: the things that matter most for how we age are often the most overlooked. So in this episode, I want to share the most transformative lessons I've learned as a healthy aging journalist, the ones that have genuinely changed and improved my quality of life in my 50s, and how I feel about aging. So let's go straight in with our first lesson. And it is that our love of comfort means we have become way too attached to our chairs. That means we tend to think of exercise as something we do for an hour or so and then get back to sitting to work. But the research is very clear. What you do for the other 23 hours matters just as much, if not more. Large-scale studies show that prolonged sedentary behaviour, that's too much sitting around, is associated with a higher risk of dying early, even in people who exercise. And it's not just about weight. Sitting is linked to poorer metabolic health, reduced muscle strength, higher risk of chronic disease, and poorer function as we age. So we shouldn't assume that a brisk morning walk means we're then free to sit for most of the day without consequences, which is exactly what I had been doing for years. Then a few months ago, I switched to an adjustable sit-to-stand desk, which I bought at very low cost from Amazon, and it just sits on top of my kitchen table. Details are in the description if you want to know which one I bought. But I can tell you that after a few weeks of muscle aches as my back adapted to standing for longer periods, once I came out the other side of that, the difference is really obvious. And having mentioned in previous episodes that at least a couple of nights a week I had been struggling to sleep well, that situation has greatly improved. Now that's partly because I've had to give up my much loved coffee and switch to tea, a whole different story. But I also think it's because I'm so much more tired at the end of the day in a good way. Because standing means I shift from side to side regularly, step back and forward, breathe deeper, and I just end up moving around more when I'm already on my feet. Yes, sometimes I'm moving in the direction of the fridge, but overall, standing for longer periods and moving around more as I work has been a huge positive for me and feels like it has cemented my newly built core strength. Now, recent studies suggest standing for longer periods can improve posture, reduce back and neck pain, and stiffness, and I can verify every one of those. It's thought that something called postural variety, so that's a balance between sitting, standing, and moving around, is the ideal approach for most of us. In general, we should aim to break sitting every 30 to 60 minutes and build more movement into our days in addition to workouts. Now, the second lesson I've learned is that nothing to do with our bodies and our health is really isolated. We often treat different parts of our body as completely separate entities, and we treat the things we do to support our bodies, like sleep, diet, and exercise, as being separate too. But the science increasingly shows our lifespan and quality is linked to deeply interconnected systems, and changes in one area can have knock-on impacts on another. So, for example, exercise improves sleep quality. Sleep affects appetite hormones and food choices. Diet influences energy levels and recovery. And recent research shows that small improvements across multiple behaviours combine to produce much bigger benefits than changing one thing alone. And that ties in with the emerging science that your body is not a collection of parts, it's a network. Changing small daily habits can add up, and the most important thing is just to make a start somewhere. There are some great home fitness resources out there, and one of my favourites is Get Healthy UTV, sponsors of today's episode. It's an online platform and community offering workouts, health tips, and fitness inspiration, covering all kinds of exercise, including strength training and cardio workouts, yoga, improving mobility, and more. I love the range of workouts and how easy the sessions are to follow. I'm a fan of the Core HIIT sessions led by founder Chris Freitag, because in addition to the strength training and daily walking that I do, I want to spend more time this year on higher intensity training, including jumping and higher impact movements. And even if you just want to get moving in the most simple way, there's fun classes that help you get your daily steps in if you've been doing a lot of sitting. Movement really is so important, and there is something there for everyone. The first 1,000 people watching this episode to scan the QR code that's on screen or use the link in my description will get a full year of premium membership to Get Healthy UTV for only $1.49. The offer is valid for new members only. Now, in this third lesson, I'm combining two related and again, often overlooked habits. That's getting morning daylight and making sure you're also getting plenty of vitamin D, which for me, living in Scotland in the UK, means taking a vitamin D supplement. Getting into daylight as soon as you can in the morning has been found to be important for helping regulate your circadian clock so you can sleep better, which in turn supports your immune system and overall health. But there are other proven benefits too, including being a powerful mood booster and improving daytime alertness. And on a sunny morning, getting outside for just 5 to 10 minutes is beneficial. And on overcast days, experts say we're looking at around 15 to 20 minutes in daylight. And it's also a time of year when it's a good idea for most of us to take a vitamin D3 supplement if you're not already. In fact, I take a supplement all year round, which also contains K2 and magnesium. And you can very cheaply test your vitamin D levels these days with home kits to make sure your levels are optimal, but not too high or of course too low. Remember, vitamin D is critical for bone health and also supports immune function and even muscle function. My parents in their 80s take vitamin D3 every day and swear by it for helping them fight off colds and viruses. And you'll find a link in the description to a page where I set out the healthy aging supplements and tools we use more widely. Fourth on my list is something I've been very aware of for over a decade, and that is the importance of good hydration. Even mild dehydration can impact your ability to focus and think clearly, your mood and your energy levels. And as we age, our thirst signals become less reliable. And that means many of us may well be walking around slightly dehydrated without even realizing it. I nag my husband about this all the time, and I know he'll be editing this episode thinking to himself that he should remove the words about this and just run with I nag my husband all the time. I nag my husband all the time. But if I feel tired, foggy or flat, I will down a large glass of water. And if I feel a bit achy and under the weather, I will down a large glass of water. If I feel a headache coming on, I usually down a couple of large glasses of water, and it is amazing the difference proper hydration can make to how you feel. That's backed by science with a 2023 study finding people who were better hydrated based on their blood serum sodium levels had lower risk of chronic disease, lower biological aging markers, and longer lifespan on average. In the UK, standard daily targets for the average person is around 8 glasses of fluid a day. That's about 1.5 to 2 litres, but that can vary depending on size, lifestyle, temperature, and so on. Because I drink tap water, and we're very lucky to have high quality water here in Edinburgh, I add a small pinch of Baja salt in the morning. It provides trace minerals and helps with that first thing in the morning hydration, especially when we're slightly depleted after sleep. And I introduced it because I eat mostly whole unprocessed foods and I'm quite active, and a recent blood test showed my sodium was actually a bit low. And it's a reminder that while the general advice may be to reduce salt, health is all about context. If you're active and avoiding processed foods, you might actually need to address that electrolyte balance. And just to flag that for anyone with high blood pressure, adding salt to water should only be done after speaking to a doctor. My fifth, but not final lesson on my list is the one most of you knew was coming from me. It's the big one and the thing that has changed how I think and feel about aging. It is, of course, the power of muscle to support not just our quality of life and ability to do more as we age, but also supporting our health as a metabolic organ. Research shows higher muscle mass is associated with lower all-cause mortality. Loss of muscle is linked with functional decline and earlier death. And lower muscle mass does, of course, increase the risk of losing our independence. If you don't believe me and you haven't already, then do please watch at least one of the episodes I've filmed with my parents. They're both in their 80s and their lives have been transformed through building muscle in later life. You'll find that series called Rebuilding Mum and Dad linked below, and it's also on screen if you're watching on YouTube. Because it turns out muscle is the foundation of how well we live, not just how long we live. And you're also going to find linked in the description an episode on the different ways you can start to build muscle today. The sixth and penultimate transformative lesson I've learned is that your skin is not just superficial. It isn't just a covering, it's your largest organ, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be hearing more and more about this in the years ahead and what that means for how best we should care for our skin. It plays a crucial role in immune defense. It's the front line against pathogens, so we want to keep our skin barrier healthy. And just like the gut, it has its own delicate but important microbiome that contributes to our overall health. There is so much to be discovered about both the gut and skin microbiomes, but there is growing evidence about the connection between the gut, brain and skin, so we shouldn't take our outer layer for granted. For me, that's meant toning down my skincare routine in recent years to focus on a gentler, kinder, microbiome-friendly approach to my 53-year-old skin. If you want to see my skincare routine, I will link that too in the description below. I do still use a retinoid, but not daily. And that's because using it daily dried out my skin and was fueling little outbreaks of rosacea. Retinoids are great for improving the texture of our skin, and a prescription retinoid has healed my son's acne. But ongoing daily use as we age of stronger retinoids could compromise the skin barrier if overdone. If you're using harsh, aggressive products and even clinical treatments, just make sure you give your skin time to heal and recover. And if you're seeing signs of ongoing dryness and irritation, that's when the experts say it's time to think about a change. Again, I'll link to an episode on this very subject that I recorded with a skin scientist in the description. Finally, here's probably the most surprising but important thing I've learned over the years that I've been focusing on healthy aging. It is a simple fact that nature usually knows best. We have some incredible scientific research going on and AI is accelerating it, but right now we can't outsmart the basics of protecting our healthy lifespan through something like supplementing or other hacks and treatments. All the evidence we have right now guides us back to these simple fundamentals: eating natural foods, sleeping well, moving more, building muscle, getting out into daylight, and connecting with other people. The closer we align with how our bodies are designed to live, the better they tend to function. So those are the lessons that have genuinely shifted how I feel about aging. Not hacks, not trends, but fundamentals. And needless to say, being a happier, positive, hopeful person does of course make a huge difference to our life quality too. So let me know what you prioritize and if any of what you heard today particularly resonated with you. If you haven't already, then do hit subscribe or follow to keep up with the latest from me on the Honest channel. And if you'd like to access more from me, including regular vlogs and behind the scenes content, then you'll find a link below to join and support the channel as a member. And for a free monthly dose of healthy aging inspiration delivered straight to your inbox, make sure to sign up for my newsletter where I share my latest episodes and articles so you don't miss out. The link is in the description and also on screen for those watching. But for now, thank you for being here today.